What's up, guys? What's going on? I'm Paul. This is Pauline Theology, daily devotional, man, and we're going to the book of Exodus. We're in Exodus chapter 4, verse 1. Exodus chapter 4, verse 1. If you haven't read it yet, stop the tape, see what it has to say, come back, and we're going to answer some questions. If you have already read it, then before we start into it, just want to talk about a little bit of what Trust in Jesus Ministry does. And what we do is help you to trust in Jesus more, just like the name says. And we do that by reading through the scriptures every day, daily. That's also what the name says, daily devotional, man. And so I hope that as we go through the scriptures, you get to know more about who God is, his character, his nature, and then you just begin to trust him more, man. So now let's jump on into it, man. What's going on? What's happening? Well, we have seen God speaking, Yahweh speaking with Moses in this conversation back and forth. And what has happened is that God has said certain things are going to occur. And then Moses has some questions he has to ask of God, some trepidations, man. And so Moses says, what if they don't believe me, man? What if they don't listen to my voice and say that you ain't even seen God? That's where we're at. That's where we're at. So Moses, I'm not sure, but it seems like he's not believing or trusting in what God has said to him, because just earlier, before he asked this, he says that they will believe you and you will go before Pharaoh and say these things. But now Moses pops off and says, what if they don't believe me? Now the question is this a genuine thing that he's asking, or is he just trying to make some excuses? Is he just trying to make some excuses, man? We're going to find that God just reveals himself even more, which is going to be so awesome. But we got to ask the question, what does it say about God? In this particular instance, man, as we continue to read, we're going to see more of God's nature revealed and how he deals with us, asking questions of him regarding faith, trust, and honesty. But it's hard to find something in this one verse for God. And I want to reiterate and say that when we do these questions, when we ask these questions, that if we don't have the answer to all the questions, it's okay. It's just a guide to help us to understand what's going on. And so in this one, man, we can't really see a whole lot about the nature and the character of God. But we do see something about the nature and the character of man, which is the third question we ask. So what is this saying about mankind, or Christians or non-Christians? I think what it says is we have a tendency to either not trust the words of God. We have a hard time trusting, because God has said what he's going to do, yet Moses still asks a question that he's already answered. The thing is, man, how many times are you mad whenever someone asks you a question that you've already covered? You know, when somebody asks you a question, when you said what the answer was before they asked it, because anticipating what they're going to say, and they ask that question anyway. So that's what Moses is actually, it seems to me like he's kind of doing, man. He's not trusting in the words of what God says, and we have a tendency to do that, man. We have a tendency to do that. Either that, or we're just don't want to do it. And so we're making excuses, which is another thing that we as human beings have a tendency to do, is we make up excuses by asking like silly questions, or by just saying whatever we can to get out of the situation. This may be what Moses is doing in this, and it is the thing that we do a lot of times. So how do we apply these truths to our lives? I think what we have to do here is trust Jesus, trust God, trust Yahweh and his spirit at his word. When he says something, we must believe it. We must believe it. We must trust him in what he has to say in regards to what he says, and then carry it out. Carry it out. So the question now is, what's going on in your life where you're not trusting in Jesus? We have seen his character and his natures so far through the book, and how he is creating and preserving, and how he's lifting up and bringing about things to happen by special means, either by the family or by just I guess a natural inhibition. Is that the word, inhibition? A natural sense in their heart to do something. Moses has got that righteousness already indwelled in him to do for those who can't do for themselves. And he's been growed up in a family, in a tradition that honors both his Hebrew heritage, but also the knowledge and the wisdom of the Egyptians and their culture and ways. God has done so much uh, for him, and yet he ain't trusting him. So what has God done for you in those aspects, in your way, in your life, and you aren't trusting him? Trust in him. Trust in Yahweh. Hey, I appreciate you guys for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Oh, and be praying as we are headed to the meeting, the van meetup, and got some classes set up, some secular classes, but maybe by them coming to that, I will introduce them to the gospel, of course, because that's what we always do, but to a class that I can host by word of mouth, and chapel which I can hold by word of mouth, that they might be able to come to, man. Be praying for that and boldness for us as we enter into this next event to minister to the people in this nomadic lifestyle. Hey, I appreciate you guys for listening again, and thank you for all that you do. I'll see you in the next episode.